There are interviews that seem to erase themselves from history. Documents vanish, witnesses refuse to speak, and those who do remember remain silent, especially when it concerns the boundary between science and what some dare to call the otherworldly. The name Stephen Hawking is known to all, a giant in the world of physics, a man who defied the limits of his body and of human understanding. He explored black holes, the origin of time, and the edges of the universe. But there was one topic he rarely addressed publicly: the afterlife. Then, in the spring of 2025, a discovery was made. A group of researchers sifting through restricted digital archives at the University of Cambridge stumbled upon a strange file, an audio recording. Its name was a jumble of characters, meaningless at first glance, but hidden in its metadata were three chilling words: Hawking, consciousness, beyond. Initially, they assumed it was a hoax, but after running the file through acoustic analysis, the results were undeniable. The voice on the tape belonged to Stephen Hawking. Even more shocking, it was dated to the early 2000s, a time when Hawking had virtually stopped giving interviews altogether. The conversation began with familiar questions about gravity, time, the fabric of space. But then came the question that changed everything. "Professor," the anonymous interviewer asked, "if information in a black hole is never destroyed, is it possible that consciousness persists after the death of the body?" There was silence, a faint breath. Then Hawking responded, "This is a question I have studied more than I have publicly admitted." What followed was a revelation. He spoke not as a skeptic, but as a seeker. He suggested that if information is conserved in the universe, then this must also apply to memory, thought, and perception. What many religions call the soul, he proposed, may not be a mystical entity, but an information structure. And such structures, he said, do not simply vanish. The interviewer pressed him. "You're saying consciousness continues?" Hawking answered firmly, "In a certain form, yes, but not as traditional religions imagine it." He then laid out a theory that would shake the foundations of modern science, that consciousness is not confined to the brain. It is a quantum phenomenon spread across space and time. When the body dies, the information that formed a person's consciousness doesn't disappear, it transforms. The recording went on. Hawking revealed that he had been working privately with a team of physicists and neuroscientists. Their goal: to test if consciousness left measurable traces after death. The technology they used: neurointerfaces and laser spectroscopy, officially for memory research. But in at least 2 documented cases, anomalies were recorded at the moment of death, bursts of unexplained quantum activity. The interviewer asked if this was some kind of quantum echo. Hawking replied, "Yes, memory, emotion, even fragments of personality, preserved not in the brain, but in the quantum field." He compared the process to black holes. Just as a black hole transforms, but does not destroy information, consciousness may follow the same law. But what came next was even more bizarre. Audio specialists analyzing the file discovered hidden frequencies, digital markers, as if someone had tried to conceal certain segments. But enough remained to expose something even more profound. Hawking admitted that the implications of this theory were too dangerous for public release. If consciousness survived, death even in parts would redefine science, religion, politics, everything. He feared it would be used for control, not enlightenment, so he chose silence. But Hawking had left BREADCRUMBS. In the metadata of the audio file were a set of coordinates. When the researchers entered them into a map, it pointed to a facility near Genevian experimental site connected to CERN. Officially, the lab tested magnetic systems. Unofficially, it had hosted a classified project called the Cognitive Echo Initiative. After months of negotiation, the research team obtained declassified CERN files. One report from 2002 described anomalous quantum radiation, observed 4 minutes after the clinical death of a test subject. Another stated, the recorded phenomenon aligns with the cognitive trace hypothesis. This wasn't speculation. They had observed something. But before the project could continue, its lead scientist, Dr. Mark Euler, vanished. Within weeks, the entire team was reassigned. All data classified. Officially, the project never existed. Then came the warnings, anonymous threats, researchers quitting. One audio analyst disappeared abroad, but others pressed on. In the final fragments of the recording, barely audible beneath layers of distortion, was a sentence reconstructed using spectral analysis. Consciousness is not a function, it is a path. These words unlocked a new phase of the investigation. Dr. Lewis Harding, a quantum informatics expert, proposed that after death, consciousness may enter a quantum memory field state where identity does not perish, but ripples on, perhaps interacting with other consciousnesses. This idea echoed early theories by physicist John Wheeler, who proposed that the universe itself might be capable of remembering, if true. This meant consciousness doesn't just survive, it reincarnates. Harding's team began comparing CERN's secret data to real-world cases. They turned to the University of Virginia's Archive of Children, who recalled past lives cases meticulously documented for decades, and the match, terrifying. In 13 cases, children described details matching the classified experiments. A boy in Texas recounted laboratory procedures he couldn't possibly know. A girl in California recalled sequences of numbers that matched internal CERN test codes. This wasn't coincidence, Harding concluded. Some consciousnesses don't fade, they return. Their quantum patterns find new hosts, new minds that resonate with their frequency. This was the mechanism behind reincarnation, not spiritual myth, but quantum migration. But why do some return and others vanish? The final revelation was found in the last corrupted segment of Hawking's recording. A single sentence was recovered. Only patterns that carry development continue. The others are erased. It was evolution not of the body, but of consciousness itself. Hawking had not only acknowledged the existence of the soul, he was proposing that its rebirth followed the laws of information theory. Reincarnation was not divine reward, it was natural selection. The academic world recoiled. Cambridge and CERN dismissed the findings as pseudoscience. Critics called the research dangerous, but some, like Professor Karen Blake of Princeton, defended it. If we only study what we can already explain, we will never discover anything new. Then came the most shocking discovery of all. In a low-security CERN report, labeled Class C, Harding's team found references to a group of experimental subjects called the Chosen Eight. These individuals didn't just retain information from unknown sources. They appeared to be conscious carriers, with memories and behaviors traceable to specific experiments from the early 2000s. One phrase in the document matched Hawking's recording exactly. Consciousness is a path. Only compatible patterns continue. The implications were staggering. What if Hawking and his collaborators had not only discovered how consciousness persists, but had intentionally guided certain quantum patterns into new lives? Was there a secret effort to preserve and evolve selected minds across death? Was Stephen Hawking himself trying to leave more than a legacy? Perhaps he left a trail, a code, a signal, a path.